the decision-making process. Mastering the art of knowing when to swing and what pitches to commit to is no less important than perfecting your swing mechanics. It's all about making the right choices at the right time. So let's dive into this. When we talk about swing decision, what we're really referring to is the decision-making process that occurs that split second from the time the pitcher releases the ball and that ball reaches home plate. It's a critical part of every hitter's approach at the plate. And here's the thing. A swing decision isn't just about guessing whether the pitch will be a ball or a strike. That's part of it, sure. But there's a lot more to it. It involves three critical factors that every hitter must consider. First, it's going to be pitch recognition. This involves identifying the type of pitch and the location as early as possible. Am I seeing a fastball, the changeup, curveball, slider? Is it going in and out, up, down? Your ability to identify these factors quickly and accurately plays a huge role in the decision-making process. Second is going to be situational awareness. This is everything from the count to the number of outs to the score to where the runners are to where the defense is playing to the pitcher to the umpire. Understanding the situation is going to drive your plan and your approach. Third is going to be self-awareness. This means that you understand yourself. You know what you do well, you know what you don't do well. What pitches do you hit well, what pitches do you not hit well. What location do you do well, what location do you not do well. What's your hot zone? What's your cold zone? What area do you hit balls hard at? And what area do you have to lay off pitches at? So you see, swing decision isn't as simple as a yes or no choice. It is a complex decision that requires quick thinking, observation, and a deep understanding of your own abilities and what you do well. And it all happens in a blink of an eye. Now that we understand what swing decision is, let's dive into the strategies that make up good decisions. The first step is going to be knowing thyself. One of the key things that every batter should know is what they do well. What pitches do you hit well? What pitches do you not do well? What location do you do well? Where do pitchers attack you? Where would you want the pitch? Understanding what you do well is going to play a huge role in your decision-making process and in your approach. By knowing what you do well, now you can actually really focus in on your hot zone and the areas that you do well at, the areas that you're likely to make solid contact and generate power. So if you're a fastball guy, you might look to drive the fastball. If you're a guy that likes the outside pitch, fastball away, then you might be focusing in on that pitch. Knowing thyself isn't just about knowing what pitches you hit well, though. It's about knowing where in the strike zone you are most effective, but also where you're not most effective. This is something that you can practice by paying attention to where you make solid contact and where you don't make contact, or solid contact at. In the game, when you're up to bat, you got to remember what you do well. If the pitch is coming in that fits into your hot zone, now is a good time to swing the bat. If it's headed for your cold zone and maybe somewhere you don't want to hit the ball well at, now is the time to make the decision to say no. Just because the pitch is a strike, it doesn't mean you have to hit it. You want to get a pitch in your zone that you know you can drive. Everything else, let it go. By focusing on your approach and what you do well and understanding what zones you hit the ball well at, you'll be well on your way to making better swing decisions. Now let's move on to the next strategy, which is understanding the situation. The context of the game will heavily influence your approach and your plan and ultimately your decision-making process as to whether you're going to swing or not. So let's break down what is meant by the situation. It includes various factors such as the count, the number of outs, the runners, the positioning of the defense, the pitcher, the umpire, the weather. All those play and factor into your situation that you're in and for you to develop the plan and an approach for. So let's say this. Let's say we have a 3-0 count, a 3-1 count. The pitcher is under pressure to throw a strike. In this situation, it leads to the pitcher being more predictable and actually throwing more hittable pitches. So you may choose to be more aggressive. On the other hand, if you're behind, the pitcher has more freedom to throw balls that start in the zone and move out. You may need to be more defensive and more selective on the pitches that you're at. Next, we got to consider the number of outs and where the runners are at. If there are 2 out runners in score position, you may want to be more aggressive to drive those runners in. However, if there's no out and nobody on, you might choose to be more patient so that you can get on base and you can get a pitch that you can hit really, really well in your hot zone, making better swing decisions. Understanding the situation also involves considering the pitcher that you're facing. Does he tend to throw more fastball or more off speed? Does he struggle with command? Knowing the tendency can help you anticipate the type of pitch that he might be throwing. More predictable pitchers are easier to hit off, and we make better decisions because we know what's coming. So again, all of these factors, from the count to the umpire to the pitcher to the defense to the score, all these come together and they help you decide whether you're going to swing or hold back. This is why situational count awareness is critical in making smart swing decisions. The more information you have, the better equipped you will be to decide whether you want to swing or not. So remember, don't just step into the box blindly. Assess the situation, understand what's at stake, and let's guide your swing decision-making process based on what you're reading. Our next strategy is centered around pitch recognition. This might seem like an obvious point, but it's so important that it cannot be overstated. Recognizing the pitch type and the location as early as possible is vital for making great swing decision making. Is it a fastball? Is it a changeup? Is it a slider? Is it a curveball? Is it going in, out, up, down? All of these help you. The sooner you can understand that, the better your decision making process is going to be. The sooner you can understand that, the sooner you can recognize that pitch, the more time you have to prepare to make solid contact and make sure that it's the right pitch in your location. Now, this is a skill. It requires practice and experience. So how do you go about getting better at pitch recognition? Well, one way is to study the pitcher. Watch them closely during the game. Watch them when they're warming up. If you can find video, find video. Look for patterns and tendencies. Does their arm slot change for different type of pitches? Is there different in their windup or in their leg lift, in their release point when they throw this pitch versus that pitch? Another way is obviously through repetitive practice. You can use the pitching machine. You can have a coach throw. You can face live pitchers, and you can really start working on your pitch recognition skills to identify the pitch and the location. The more you see the pitches, the more you see it, the better you will get at recognizing them quickly, as long as you make it your priority. Remember, pitch recognition just isn't about identifying the pitches. It's about identifying where that pitch is going to end up. So we have reading the pitch and then being able to track the pitch. By practicing pitch recognition and tracking, you'll be able to make better decisions, quicker decisions, more accurate decision making. Improve your chances of making solid contact and ultimately becoming a more successful hitter. Now let's talk about being patient. In a world of hitting, in the hitting world, patience is everything. It's game changer. Your ability to wait for your pitch is absolutely game changing. It's tempting, especially when you're eager to make an impact, to swing at every single pitch that comes your way. But remember, not every strike is a good pitch to hit, especially as you start to level up. Being patient at the plate means waiting for a pitch that not only falls into your hot zone, but in an area where you know you can make solid contact and drive the baseball to execute the approach in the situation that you're in. The key to practicing patience is to have a plan and an approach when you get into the box. Understanding what you do well, what you don't do well, understanding the pitcher tendency, and having a clear idea of what pitch you're looking for, what location you're looking for, and if that pitch doesn't match your plan, you let it go. But what if the count against you? What if it's an 0-2 count or a 1-2 count? It's still important to remain patient. Yet, you might need to expand your zone a little bit to protect the plate, but that doesn't mean you're swinging at anything and everything. It's better to battle off and foul off tough pitches than to chase bad pitches and make easy outs. But also remember that a walk is just as good as a hit. So if a pitcher can't seem to find the strike zone, don't help him out. Take your base and give your team a chance to drive you in. In baseball, patience truly is virtue. So you hold your ground, wait for your pitch, and when it comes, make it count. Now, this next strategy might seem a little bit less technical, but it's just as critical. It's trusting your instincts. Baseball, especially hitting, is a game of split-second decision. From the moment the pitcher releases it to the moment across the plate, you have less than a half a second to decide whether you're going to swing. So in that fraction of a second, there's no time to second guess or overthink. Hesitation leads to late swing, missed opportunities, and even strikeouts. That's where your instincts come to the play. Over time, with your experience and practice, your brain learns to process all the information. The pitcher's windup, the spin, the count, the game situation, and translate it into a gut feeling and an instinct about what you're going to be doing. Trust that feeling. If your gut tells you that you're going to get a fastball down the middle, be ready to swing. If something tells you to be ready for a curveball in the dirt, be ready to hold back. So remember, your instincts are built on your experiences and your practice and your knowledge of the game. They're your subconscious mind's way of processing all the information faster than the conscious mind can. So trust them. Trust yourself. Remember, baseball is just as much of a mental game as it is physical. So by trusting your instinct, you're allowing your training and your experience to take over and lead you to better results, lead you to making better decisions, lead you to making better contact at the plate. And our last strategy for today brings all these points together, and perhaps the most essential one, learning from each at bat. Every trip to the plate, every swing decision is an opportunity to learn. Whether you hit a ball hard or you struck out, draw a walk, there are lessons to be learned in every at bat. Did you swing at a pitch in your hot zone? Did you let hittable pitches go by? Were you expecting a different pitch? Did you get fooled on a pitch? Each of these experiences is a chance to reflect and understand what went wrong so that we can make an adjustment for the next at bat. But it's not just about learning from your mistakes. It's also about recognizing when you do something well. Did you stay patient? Did you drive your pitch? Did you not miss your pitch? Did you get a walk? Did you correctly anticipate a pitch and drive it? Reinforcing these positive actions in your mind so that you can replicate them again in the future. Learning from each at bat is a continuous process, and it's how you grow as a hitter. It's about developing a mindset of continuous improvement, always looking for ways to get better, to make smart swing decisions, to become a more effective hitter. Remember, every great hitter learned from their past experiences. They learned from their at-bat. They analyzed their at-bat. They understood their mistakes. They made adjustments. They also know what makes them great. And they keep learning, keep improving, and keep swinging. So there we have it, folks. Swing decision, as we have seen, form a fundamental pillar of the art and science of hitting. It's not about swinging a ball. Rather, it's about the required blending of knowledge, skills, instincts, and strategy. By knowing yourself, knowing what you do well, what you don't do well, you can focus on pitches and locations that you hit effectively. Understanding the game situation allows you to adjust your approach, whether that means to be aggressive or to be patient. Recognizing the pitch early enables you to be in the position to be the best possible position to hit. Patient, as we discussed, is about waiting for the right pitch so that you can drive one effectively. Not that just because it's a strike, it doesn't mean you have to swing. Get you a pitch that you can drive. But remember, all of this knowledge is just a start. The key is to apply it. It's to practice it. It's to learn from each experience at the plate. That's what we will transform you into a more effective and more consistent and a more confident hitter. So I'm glad that you joined us here today into this dive into the swing decision making process. If you found this video helpful, do us a favor. Give us a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more of the strategic hitting baseball information. Your support helps us create more content like this. And remember, as with anything in life, practice makes perfect. So get out there and apply what you're learning and keep swinging. No matter what, you never lose your love for the game. Never stop learning, never stop, always strive to be the best player that you can be. Remember, your growth as a hitter is our greatest reward. We'll see you next time.